singing.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dungeon Crawl. Today is going to be a little bit different than normal. We lost one of our players for our Fantasy Age game, and rather than run with less player, we decided to instead, just with the amount of DMs that we had in the group, just talk about DM stuff. Charles is going to pop in a little bit, and then we'll all talk about stuff. So, for my lovely guests, so right now are the lovely, beautiful Persnickety and the also lovely and beautiful Christina.
Oh, you charming you.
Oh, what can I say? So, I know that Snicket, you've been DMing for like, has it been a year now, or?
It's whoa, I can hear myself. I've been DMing. I DM'd a couple one-shots around this time last year when I was super freaking new. It was supposed to lead up to my campaign, but I have been DMing almost weekly since late January of this year, so I'm slowly hitting my 1-year anniversary of being that asshole who cackles and totally is not going to TPK you all next week. Ha!
Well, that's just not fair. This is the power that DMs can have. Just being, just really mean to your players outside of the game. No, I'm just kidding. But Christina, I know you just started recently DMing and stuff.
Yes, the campaign is now on session 6, I believe, which has been a learning curve. Realizing that I'm not the only person who goes, oh, I see your objective, DM. We're going to ignore that and go drinking. Yeah! Oh, it's not fun when it's happening to you.
You'd think we would get better at rolling con saves, but...
I'm so sorry, Charles, for everything I ever did to you going, no, I'm not going there. I don't want to. I see you, DM. I'm not doing it.
You did do that to Charles kind of a lot.
I know.
Which is a very interesting topic of Rails versus no Rails kind of DMing, I think.
Right. I mean, I feel like everybody has, like, slight Rails, but less Rails, more guidelines. I mean, like, at least that's what I try to do is just gentle hand, like, here's a thing if you want it, and then if they don't, I'm like, okay, well, here's the other thing, I guess. And then if they don't want that, I'm like, maybe we need to talk about what you guys want to do.
I think most people who have ever been in any of my, or seen my campaigns or any of my campaigns know that I am generally here's my world! Yeah, there's a plotline and there's an antagonist running around and they're doing shit. And you'll get information about them doing shit, but if you rather go check out that cool ruin over there that's probably full of really awesome shit, you can go do that too. You don't want to? Okay, well there's a dragon over here. I like giving players the agency to affect the world they're in, because the more Rails and the more constricted you get, the less they feel like they're playing, and I feel the more they turn out to feel like they're playing characters in your story, which you never want your players to ever feel like they don't have a choice in what's going on, that it doesn't matter what they do, it's kind of already there. It's just like, oh, you're going to do this, 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 and this, and this, and it's a bygone conclusion, and essentially you're just making all the rolls for me. It's like, dude, go write a book instead.
Right. I see Mark saying that plot hooks are Rails, just very general ones. I wouldn't necessarily call them Rails. I feel like more along the lines of just a taste of what's to come, what you might potentially be able to run into, something... an interesting, idea of where to go. Just an idea of what's in the world so that you know what you can and can't do.
I like to use random encounters quite a bit as well, because there are lots of things happening in the world beyond the general plot and everything like that. And the players have got some good ones and some not so good ones. So, yeah. They met a unicorn, which they all made the appropriate noises, and also a talking fake cat, which they also made cute noises at. But there are things like, because they rolled poorly, that they might have missed some information and things like that. And there are certain avenues they didn't necessarily take, and then it might have led to a poor passive perceptions and everybody getting poisoned.
Almost dying in our sleep.
That escalated.
In their sleep.
In my sleep.
I'm a love. And I did roll poorly because it could have gone very terribly. Just say 96 on level 5 characters.
That's a lot of poison.
It's a lot of poison.
What did they do to deserve such wrath?
They don't know yet.
I think it's really funny because for those of you who don't know, I have DM'd Chris and I have DM'd Christina. Chris is actually in my Wednesday night campaign, my home game that I have been running since January. Chris is DM for both Christina and I, and Christina DMs for me and has DM'd for Chris. So this is a clusterfuck of, we've all DM'd each other, so it's a cycle of who's cackling madly this week.
Yes.
It's usually Charles.
It's always Charles, let's be honest.
Always Charles.
I mean, I'm going to talk about the guy when he's not here, but he does some cackling.
He is an amazing DM, and I say this not because I'm biased and I'm trying to brown nose so he doesn't kill my character. But no, seriously, he's one of my favorite DMs, and I think, as I find most DMs have certain strengths. Some people, they're really great with encounters. Some people, they're really good with the world building. Some people are really good with NPCs. And it's all about finding your voice and your strengths as a DM. So if you've never DM'd before, it's fun learning where your talents lie, I think.
Definitely. Well, I mean, we're on the topic. What do you guys think that you guys are not only just like, do you think you do the best, but you have the most fun doing?
Feels. I am apparently very good at bringing the feels. Because I am, and also in the one shot, I did a one shot recently, which was a fairy tale one, and at the end of it, there was some little things, and apparently Morgan and Snicket and Pixel were all crying, going, "Is this what you do to people?" And I'm like, I don't mean for it to be sad. It's supposed to be happy times.
I would say how I feel about my DMing, but I have a feeling that I will get smacked down.
NPCs, you're good at NPCs. Also, you are Secret Mercer. I'm just saying.
I'm not Secret Mercer, and Charles is here.
Charles!
It's the Secret Mercer Triumvirate. Just saying.
I like to think I'm pretty good with the world building and the lore building. I like making NPCs a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I totally don't sit there and have a catalog of random NPCs that are sassy or tiny and cute and shit like that.
I think my favorite one is, oh god, poor Charles. Is genuinely Fioriel, because I've known about Fioriel and her secret since we did the one shot with her, ages ago with Bucky, and I've known since then her secrets and things, and then just hearing things from everyone else slowly, and then going in my head going, how are they not getting this? How why are they all being so, and just realizing that it's so good and complex that because it is so secret and so good, no one else knows, and I'm like, oh. And until you know, you don't know. That makes more sense in my head.
Until you know, and then you don't know, but then you know because you know.
Yeah.
So Charles, we were talking about basically different kinds of DM styles and what some DMs tend to have strengths and weaknesses. I know Snicket said she's really good. She likes to the world building, the NPCs. Christina loves bringing the feels. Where do you think that your strength, your biggest strength, comes from in when you're DMing something?
Decisive combat. I think that's one of the biggest things I'm good at, is the idea of making combat interesting and not just some HP slog, which can be an issue with a lot of stuff, but making it sure, and also I think I'm pretty good at giving each player a spotlight and recognizing what type of player they are, so they're not just, being a spectator, a murder hobo, an actor, or something like that. I kind kind of hoping I tailor it to them enough. But again, I think combat's where I shine the most. I think it's where something I'm good at, making sure everyone feels like they get their moment, and making sure combat's difficult enough yet not impossible.
You're also good at improv, and your play is going, I want to go over here. What's over here? Okay, Christina.
Well, and also about just destroying everybody's sense of hopefulness, and
It's like, I'm going to teach you a moral lesson about the fact that there are no good rogues in the world. This is something that you have clearly dreamed up in your idealistic little head. Bahamut sends his regards, Step.
No, I never did that.
No.
There are some diabolical people who run D&D games, and everyone might think that Snicket is super sweet, but she is diabolical.
Oh, yeah.
When she plays a lawful good villain.
Oh, yes.
Or lawful evil, rather. That's what I would say.
Who, me?
You.
I'm not evil.
My.
Speaking of which, antagonists, I think, is a big thing when you DM, is trying to, because there's a lot of times with a big campaign, having you don't necessarily always need an overarching major antagonist, but I sure think it's fun to have someone that vexates the party or stands in opposition to them to drive, them forward into doing things, I think. But
you want your very own Voldemort.
Kinda. So I don't know about anybody else, but I very much like they're not evil in their own head. They're doing what they think is right kind of evil, because I find that's a little bit more insidious. But then I'm an asshole, so.
You're not.
I'm just trying to think of ones that, because you do play in my campaign, that I'm like, okay, so let's find somebody who isn't necessarily a spoiler. Okay, so I had a villain who in their head was doing the very right thing, which was trying to help their daughter overcome a sickness that was slowly killing her, and did so by murdering quite a few people and horrifically experimenting on them and transmuting them into stones of power and things like that, a la Shu Tucker in Fullmetal Alchemist. And everyone was like, this guy's awful. It's like, but in his head, he's not. He's doing a good thing for his child. He's just going about it in a very bad, evil way.
I think villains in themselves. I think a good one is like the king of the city of bells. I think that's a great thing. It's like a very mundane idea. Like, I want to be immortal. How far will they take that that desire, and how far will they run with it? And in turn sacrificing the entire city to be fucked in the end, and kind of getting their just desserts. And but like the overarching villain, like in my campaign, you guys all for those because it's not streamed or anything, the Queen of Shadows, that's more of a not really doing the right thing in her mind, but it's more of like the to eradicate the invaders, because that's how she sees humanity at that point. So it's more like defending her land and you're the invaders is her mindset. So a scorched earth policy is totally fine with her, because she's totally alien compared to you people. That's something that's cool. I mean, I've never really played with the idea of like the the villain who thinks that they're right. Like I've kind of got the idea of like those who are I've been playing with like a minor antagonist, kind of like an old guard captain gone bad because he's sick of seeing that the world is tailored towards the rich, and seeing that the rich get off while the poor still suffer, and kind of the idea of the fact of like going through and like trying to change the system from the inside, but doing it the completely wrong way and just fucking everything up. But
it's so weird how many things can go like completely tits up or completely perfectly, depending on the different situations that they're in. I know that Kate and also I think Morgan both asked kind of a similar question. Kate wants to know what your best advice for someone who's wanting to DM for the first time would be, and then Morgan said she wants to know what the best advice you would give for someone who's a new DM with 5 new players too.
Well, for someone trying to DM for the first time, don't be overly critical. Be prepared to have all your notes go up in flames. That's exactly what they're going to do. And never compare yourself to people. Like, you are not Matt Mercer. You are not Chris Perkins. You are you. And you need to... They've honed their craft over hundreds and thousands of hours of playing D&D. You're starting out. You're not going to be great. You'll be... As long as your players have fun, you've had fun. I think that's the greatest thing. And for new players, take it slow. I think don't try to do some cool reveal or something like that. I think maybe kind of the idea of dumping up in front of the dungeon, saying, here's the dungeon, figure it out, I think is a good starting place for players. And then as they grow, then you can start tossing some more, because, personally, as being a new player or something like that, I didn't talk at all. I was it was combat only, it was very, very spectator, and that's something you need to don't feel pressure, don't pressure them to come out of their shell, because they'll just shut the fuck down and not do anything. And that's the issue. And you don't want to shut your player. You don't want to force them into the spotlight when they don't want to be there.
And a lot of times that spectator player will, after you do a bunch of different sessions and there's combat and there's some role playing, and they normally sit back and stop and don't really talk. A lot of times, if other people are talking in character and having a great time, that through just natural of how it works, that they'll eventually also get into the conversation, and it'll just be an easy progression as long as your group is really accepting, which I think is the biggest thing for any group really to succeed, is communicating with everybody and making sure you're all on the same page so you can all have a great game. And also, basically that's one of the big things, is just making sure that you're all on the same page.
Yep.
Yeah, expectations are a big thing.
Expectations, communication. Set up with your players how you like to run. Talk to your players, ask what they're looking for out of the game, and make sure that you all are on the same page, because a lot of the times groups fall apart, or there's tension when your players and what you're trying to do aren't always lined up, and sometimes in between players, what they want, how they role play will butt heads. And as long as you set up, are clear on expectations and have good communication, you should be able to do it. I think for new DMs, your players will not do whatever you think they're going to do. They will do something you have not planned for, because that is the nature of players. You're coming at building an encounter or building a session from what you would do. Everyone else is different, so everyone has a different viewpoint, so they'll go differently. I find, there is a bit of improv when you run D&D. It's just one of those things where your players will go, well, I want to go talk to this person, and you're like, fuck, I didn't prepare for this. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, but don't be afraid. And I think a lot of people also are afraid it's going to be stupid, it's going to be dumb, and just go in and have fun. And as long as your players are having fun, like Charles said, that's what really matters, because it's a game, and it's not life or death. It's, you're just sitting around with a bunch of people, and you're trying to tell a good story, so just, relax. It'll be okay, I promise. I mean, fuck, I DM. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I started off completely freaked out about it, and now this is it's like breathing.
Try not to say no, just change if it's something but you're like, that necessarily wouldn't work, just change the DC, so it's it's going to be super hard for them but not impossible. But if they go, is this a magic carpet, and it's not a magic carpet, just say, no, but you could buy one and it costs this amount of money, and then watch as they cry.
Fuck yeah.
I think it's also, you also need to not be afraid to say no too, because sometimes an idea is, if it doesn't fit in the world, or if it is something that might upset the balance of the group or anything like that, that kind of can mess with the kind of flow of everything. And you also have to be afraid to be like, this isn't going to fit in this world, in this game. Maybe we can try to do something like that next time.
Or, like, that's not exact. It's like, when a player goes, like, I want to be the son of God, come down, and I want to be king of the world and do all these things. You're going to go, no, you can't be super God mode, min-max Munchkin. However, if you try to find the core of what the player is asking for, you can go, well, we can't do this, but how about we brainstorm for something else cool? Because you want your players to feel special. They're supposed to be heroes in this story. You want them to feel heroic. And if you're not doing that, it's kind of like, I understand people are like, well, ooh, the one true hero. I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, you're not the average person. You're not, you're not an innkeep sitting there polishing the glass day in and day out. We're not playing Humans and Catacombs. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you want them to feel special in some way. So you can always sit down with your player and go, hey, listen, I know you want to be Jesus Christ Superstar, but you can't. However, let's go with that holy thing, and perhaps you are on a quest given to you by your god, and you are holding this holy artifact that you need to deal with. Just something that is doable, but still really fucking cool, so they can go, look at what I can do, look at what I got, because you want them to be that excited when they play.
I see that something interesting. Jolie said that she has a villain, but she doesn't have motivation for them yet. She has to figure out why they're doing it. So, like, that's a great place to start. Like, how do you figure out the motivation for your, not only even villains, like you can open up to NPCs and villains and anybody, any of your like characters that you have to create for your world. How do you motivate what they're doing, both in the moment and like in the long game?
I tend to look at alignment on things, like, because if it's like a chaotic evil character and their motivations are, they're not necessarily going to have a singular motivation. They're just going to be like, I'm going to do what the fuck I want whenever the fuck I want. So YOLO. But somebody who has like a code of honor, say for example, their motivation might in the short term be, I would like to get money. In the long term, it could be, I would like to get money to avenge my parents' death, or things like that. So I always try to have short goals and long goals in mind with my NPCs and my PCs and my villains, just because I find it gives them something to work towards, and then a shorter, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Short-term gratification. Yeah. Gratification.
I mean, alignments don't really play a lot into it for me. I think that I think a villain's going to do what they're going to do, and they're like I don't know, a good villain that I ran with, Yeoman, the White Dragon. The motivations for that is real simple. It's fucking eat, sleep, fuck. Real basic motivations there, but like, great villains like, Collect the Prince of Sorrows is, the idea, it's the the overarching motivation is to free his master, or
Sorry, I'm laughing at two things now.
But I think it really starts down as like, what does the character want, and what are they willing to do to get what they want? It's kind of like, there's those lines, Blint, the master assassin in Portsmouth, was willing to kill Talwyn to get what he wanted, to set Talwyn up completely and totally to get what he wanted. And that was a line he was willing to cross. But on the other hand, there was still a noble presence within him that he was still willing to, do something about, the fuck up he did. Or, another good one. Shit. But I think you just gotta find out what they want and what they're willing to do to get it. I think that's the biggest thing like that is, because there's some lines some villains won't cross. Your villain may not want to kill children and then will be, adamant against it. Or they may be willing to, burn an entire school building down to get what they want, or to use it against the heroes. There's those kind of like that, the gray areas, which is where I loved it. That's where I sit in my DM. There is no black and white in my world. There is, every character has their flaws and has their, they're pullaways. They're innately, all of them, be them villain, be them the innkeep, could be heroic if pushed in the right way.
In regards to like trying to keep people invested, was the original question keeping people interested and invested in the long run?
I think it was their villains' motivations. New word. Ding.
Chris, what did you ask in the beginning?
About what?
Oh my god. We're professionals, everybody. Motivations, I think. Motivating PCs, it depends, because every now and then you'll run into a PC or a player who's like, well, I don't give a shit. I'm like, well, that's cool. You can sit out and not play. At least I feel spiteful and want to do that. It's trying to engage your players in such a way where they can get invested in what's going on. For some people, and you also... A lot of them are doing it for personal reasons, like, I'm just trying to get, information so I can avenge my, father, prepare to die. And other ways you want to keep them in for the long haul. So, and for villain motivations, yeah, you have to know your villain. You have to know, or your antagonist. It doesn't necessarily have to be a villain. Is the people who are opposing your party, knowing who they are, what they want, what they're willing to do for it, that'll set you up for anything, because whatever your players do, you can have your antagonist react to. So if the party's out there, and they stop the antagonist, it's like, well, the antagonist wants this, we're gonna go save that town so they can't have it. They're like, well, fine, you went over here and saved the town, I still need to get this done, so I'm gonna go over here and do this instead. So you always, it's knowing who is willing to do what to do the thing. It's knowing your players, knowing your antagonists, knowing your NPCs. It's a lot to know as a DM, but at the same time, once everything is set up, it'll work like clockwork. Unless a player throws a wrench in there, in which case you put them in the shame corner.
I have never been put in the shame corner.
You were put in the shame corner every week.
I know exactly. I'm super proficient in deception.
As far as, I feel like, you guys all kind of said it and broke it down pretty much, like, to exactly, like, no matter who it is, that their motivation breaks down to what they want and how they're going to achieve it, how willing they're going to achieve it. I think you guys kind of nailed it to the point that literally all I could do was just reiterate what you all said.
Being a writer, I usually come after thing with being a writer, is knowing what your character needs to survive, what their goals are, what they're willing to do to achieve them, and that helps you with the plot. And I think, ow, I just bent my finger backwards, because I'm dumb. You can generally, if you know that for your NPCs, your antagonists, and if you can understand your players, you're generally set, I think.
So, I guess something I'm kind of curious about is how do you find that fine line between like balancing different PCs and their different, like, making sure that everybody has that moment, their moment in to participate, maybe not even be the main focus, so they might not want to be the main focus, but give them their small moments so that they can be like, yes, this is what I wanted, kind of thing.
I think it's watching your players and kind of coming up with something that's kind of tailored to them. Like a prime example for it, in my my game, a game with no name, greatest name ever. I make up things for doing all this stuff, and I came up with that. I think the great one is like Matthew. Spork is a very old school player of D&D, and he's very used to the dungeon and and just kind of like the slog, not the slog, but like the dungeon crawl, the original here's a dungeon. There's not a lot of RP into it, but then through the last 6 months of us playing this, there's been a few gems where I've kind of helped set it up, like the banner last week, where I threw it was a throwaway item. Really, I didn't really think it would be a big thing, and then it just hit that note, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is perfect!" And with him dying and the banner losing its magic, it was the greatest. It was the best moment I could give him. Actually,
this kind of ties into David's question that he just posted, which was what's one of the biggest wrenches that someone's thrown into your plans, which we can get back to. But with this essential thing, with basically what happened is Spork's character Lucas saw a banner from his old mercenary company days, and Charles was just going to basically sell it to him from this merchant, but he kind of got lost it in anger and leaned over and grabbed him and started threatening him, and we basically tortured this poor shopkeeper and took it for free. But it was this really awesome role-playing moment that nobody expected. Not even Spork expected.
I think it's kind of gotta get your players invested. Once they're invested in your game, you can pretty much do what you need to. And I think and it helps to have player to get that point where they become invested. It's kind of hard to do, but you need to I think the biggest way to do this is let them create something in your world so it's theirs as well, or at least help with the creation of it. And then their moments are easy because now they're invested in the game. So if you threaten what is theirs in that game, they become invested, and then they can kind of get their moment, be it whatever it is. Be it an epic death by dragon breath that happened this week in Snicket's game.
Oh my god!
Where it was which was an amazing moment for so many people in that game. It kind of gave everyone kind of their moment that over one action of a player, or I think it's investment is what is the biggest thing, getting your players that moment, and then what you plan may never work. The banner's a great example. That was a throwaway fucking item. They're you guys are going to fight a dragon this week. Maybe you'd want some advantage on it. It's going to be 6,000 gold if you want it. And he just lost his shit and stole it. I'm like,
it was
okay.
Awesome. So cool.
That was a great moment. And now there won't be any consequences for that at all. No.
So, Christina, being a recent DM, how do you find it challenging finding those moments for all of your players without that balance? Is it hard to maintain?
In game time, they've literally, I think, spent 2 days, 6 sessions, 2 days, and a lot of performance rolls. So no regrets. So as of yet, I don't know, because the main thing that they went into the city was there is a Midwinter Festival. So I made sure that there was different events so that each of them could have a go at them if they wanted to. They didn't necessarily have to, but there was something there for everyone. And each of the prizes was something not necessarily tailored to them, but tailored to the area that they were built from, but something that each of them would like. So Essis the Bard won the Bard competition and won a Jill Impel, which is Draconic for Handcone of Clarity, because I'm awesome. And there was an eating competition, there was an archery competition, there was a horse riding competition, there was a tourney which they have currently decided not to go to. So there are things. So there are lots of different things that they could have done, they haven't done. There are other things that they have done which I'm okay, awesome. The biggest wrench so far, I have to say, was I didn't necessarily expect them to go and see a noble, and I'd completely forgotten about the noble background things, because I never really read the background things. And then I was oh wait, they can actually just go, oh look at me, I'm a noble. I want to see you, and I'm oh yeah, shit. Okay, yeah, no, you can go see them now. And it's okay, all the plans are now shifted. That's fine. Timetable has moved up accordingly. That's okay.
Oh man.
Oh man. Snicket, with you, I know you just. Oh, sorry. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I was gonna talk about the biggest wrench that I've ever had thrown in a plan.
Do it.
I love you, Charles.
Because I know exactly what it is.
So in my Wednesday campaign, ages ago, I threw a little tidbit of information that the King of Talren was on his deathbed and growing ill. Thing about Talren in my world is it's kind of I don't have real world analogies for them. I kind of pick different things from sort of things. It's kind of like Anglo-Saxon England and stuff like that. Essentially, there are a certain amount of clans in Talren, and if you have enough backing and enough power, you can become king. It's not hereditary. So this was setting up with the king had an heir, and there were other people vying for the crown. And Connor, Charles's PC, said, "I'm gonna go become king." And I literally, after the game, went, "Fuck! Alright, let's do this shit!" I had not anticipated this because the entire time these people have been playing the game is very much, we need to grab these ancient artifacts so we can stop this ancient evil, which is boiling it down a lot, but they had a very much plan of what they were going to do, where they were going to go, and then Charles is like, we need to go Talren now because he's dying, and then we can set himself up as king, and then they'd have an army. And so I had not anticipated this in the slightest. So I had to go and push things that I had on the back burner up. I had to quickly finish a couple things, but it was, to me, totally worth, because that arc was one of my favorites that we've ever done, with Charles going from this man who had lost his family, his hometown was being destroyed by frost giants, and he went and he made himself lord of the clan, and then went around and got backing and became king. And it's definitely one of my favorite moments ever. And then there was lots of other stuff. So that was the biggest wrench I've ever been thrown, was I want to be king, and I went, alrighty then, let's do this. And seriously, my players are amazing with this stuff.
I haven't run a campaign yet, or I haven't done like any really multi-shot yet, which hopefully soon. But the biggest wrench I've ever had thrown into my plans were when I did the assassination contract recently for Dungeon Crawl,
where we all ran away.
Well, wasn't even really that. It was just the way you guys went about trying to assassinate this person. Like, you did the normal thing I thought you were going to do, like, you know, follow around, figure out a schedule, all that stuff. But then one rogue drank her potion of gaseous form and then went into the bottle, and they corked it and then put her like in a pouch as like an emergency rogue to just throw and explode and back into the room. So she didn't even have to make any stealth checks or anything like that. You know, Druid turns into a mouse, so this person seemingly walks in by himself, but there still are two other people and then a sniper perch. Just didn't even stand a chance. And then right after that, I was like, this huge encounter with like this big silver-plated knight. He's like had a bunch of different weapons that he was going to be switching for different circumstances, and a blade singer who had all these cool spells. And then they killed the guy, and they were like, and fuck it, and then just proceeded to just bail and just ran through every encounter that I planned. Ran through the sewers, past the giant bat creature, and out, and they escaped, and it was awesome, and it was harrowing, and the druid almost died because he was slower than all the rogues.
Yeah, because I flew.
Yeah, you did fly. I remember that.
You know, I gotta say the biggest wrench you guys, my players have thrown in my thing, would be Christina, actually.
Just in general, Christina.
Well, it's not just Christina being that. It was the whole thing, like, it was supposed to be a build-up. Like, it was supposed to be, like, planting a seed that there's issues with the underbelly of Portsmouth, and then she just fucking grabbed onto it. It was like a dog with a... Like, no, I'm not letting this go. We're going to grind everything to a halt. Do this now. I'm like... What? So this entire session, as they're talking and shit like that, I'm building an encounter for them to do while I'm DMing at the same time, and I'm just like, oh my fucking god! Like, how am I supposed to do this? And I felt like I didn't handle it very well. I could have done a way better job of doing it, and that's one thing. Like, looking at DM and like being that inexperienced at that point, like, oh fuck, I could have totally done something way cooler. And thinking back now, doing this forever, I'm like.
Yeah, but it's easy also to look back and be like, "Oh, I could have done this better." Like in the circumstance, like it's, you know, you have to talk a lot, and answer questions, and think. It's really hard. It's hard to do that.
Oh, it was like, I'm like, okay, well now I need to, like, you know, crap. And then, like, I love the fact that I had this cool, like, idea of, like, the broken eye, you know, the faction that comes out of this, you know, rogue thieves guild. You guys are like, nope, don't care, fuck them, and just left. I'm like,
we're awful. And Charles
we're the worst
for dealing with us.
It happens. I'm pretty sure that every DM's got plans that never. It's a like I like to run a sandbox, so there's seeds all over the place. You guys have sometimes you just go like, nope, don't want to do it, and then just like, or you just like, oh, here's something you haven't fully fleshed out, and you're like, gimme.
Yep.
Which is also cool. You can just, if those get pushed to the side or whatever, you can just reuse those later. Maybe reskin them a little bit and then reuse those core ideas.
Oh.
Or you can always, or that they sit there and fester and become something far worse.
Yep.
Or that.
That's.
I don't like the way you said that. Okay.
Oh,
I don't like the way either of you said that. What the fuck is going on right now? How did it happen that you were both jamming me and also both in the same room talking about jamming?
Oh man, you should have heard us last night. Anyway, so no,
Whoa.
I have had side quest things that I've had set up, or alternate ways of doing things, and when they have not, when you guys have chosen differently, they either wink. When you guys have not gone after it, it's either stuff where I'm like, there's literally no other place for me to do this, I'll save this for another day, or, well, you guys decided to go do this, like, again, my Wednesday campaign, they essentially have made a sort of, they've made a decision, and I totally understand and support their decision. However, much as in real life, decisions you make, other things are still going on in the background, so they've left the empire where they start off with, never interacted with the Empress there, never interacted with the main magic institution there. So there's been stuff going on in the background while they've been running around. So things, as Charles said, things will keep going even if you leave them alone, because seeds will still grow even if you're not looking at them. And other times it's, well, this literally was a alternate route. There's no real way in the future I can use this, so I'm putting this to a side. Case in point, they were gaining help or power for Charles's character to become king, and they were trying to sort of do a show of strength against one of the clan heads called Battleborn. They literally decided to go in there and challenge him, and he said, and I'm so fucking happy, by the way, I got to say this, meet me in the pit. And it was a literal pit that they had to meet in. Anyway, the other one would be there was something going on that they could have gone and taken care of for Battleborn instead, showing that they were strong, capable warriors. That is still out there?
I forgot about
that is still out there. I don't...
What even was it? I don't even remember.
It was a crypt.
It was a crypt,
right. It was
and there was something in the crypt. So... It might be a one shot I do one day, we'll see, but yeah, it's stuff happens while you're out and about, and I think that also adds to the world feeling alive when you come back and it's, oh shit, this thing that was mentioned before, look at what it's become now. It adds depth and life to your world, to the game, which draws people in further and further, I think.
That's actually a perfect segue into talking about, like, specifically for those like campaigns, like how do you make the world feel different from when the characters are level 1 or 3 to when they're like level 9? Like how do you change it? I mean, other than like the obvious like big huge changes of natural disasters in cities and war breaking out, like the small, like more subtle things, like how do you show change, like small change in the world that's just noticeable? Befrienders. Fair enough.
I liked with Charles the fact that like the dancing dove had become like bigger. So there had been like, you guys came home, it was bigger, it was more elaborate, other things had gone on, other things had gotten bigger. And like it just showed that time had actually moved on, and it didn't just come to a standstill when you guys left the port and like all the NPCs just started running into walls and things like that and glitching out through the floor.
I think that's a good thing, like making like small things like that, or something that they did, like the great idea is like, with you guys went to the desert spear and stuff like that. All that shit never stopped. Once you guys killed a Clonk and
killed a Clonk.
Killed the Clonk.
And you killed the Clonk. I had nothing to do. Well, okay, maybe I have a little bit to do with the Clonk.
A little bit. Also, the fact that Charles remember that Anna had 3 concentration spells up at once.
Oh yeah, that was when she first started playing too.
Yeah, I know. It was a mistake
She's
on
a
all of
master now. So
Oh, she's fucking great.
Um,
But like that, the idea like that shit continues moving. I mean, like you guys, I think it's something great showing that like that, or like if Dancing Dove getting bigger, the political climate of something changing. So like changing of rulers is a great idea. So like your favorite the guy you had contacts with, so say like Danavis, has then been unseated. And now you have an asshole sitting in one of the council seats, and you're like, we had an in, we no longer are in. Fuck.
they kill him.
And we all hated that person. They were all awful people. Awful.
What about you, Snicket?
no, you guys can keep going. I was waiting for you. I was just joining the queue after you guys were done talking.
No problem. I think we're all done talking. I think we're waiting for you now.
So, a lot. I feel a lot of GM and DM tips and tricks and whatnot is plot hooks and NPCs and backstory stuff. But to me, and I know this is something that I've personally struggled with, encounters and how you handle encounters, it's a big thing to me. It's something I know that is not my strong point. So maybe asking, how do you go about encounters? What's your philosophy with them? That sort of thing. How do you, that kind of, it's encounter balance is a hard thing to do. I find especially is learning how to, oh shit, that's my boyfriend. Is learning to balance it for your party, because on paper, yeah, you might have 4 level 5 characters, but with magic items and stuff like that, they don't always act like level 5 characters. They pack sometimes more of a punch. So how do you all, as DMs, look at encounters, balancing encounters, and your philosophy on that sort of thing?
I think the easiest way to balance encounters, the idea is always go with a tougher mob than you think they can take. You can always tweak it down later. And another great thing is, in fact, you got players like you've been doing this forever. So like you and Chris, Jess, you've been doing this for fucking how long? Decades, shitting like that. Playing these games, so you know what things are. You know what they're going to be doing. You have a general idea with that. And to make something new, reskin shit. I will say this every day: reskin stuff, steal stuff, and then when in doubt, if there's not a thing in that book, make it up. And if it doesn't work right, or if it's overpowered or it's strong, I think it's always easier to dump something down than buff it up. Because players will never know that thing had 500 HP before you're like, oh shit, no, that one hit nearly killed the bard. Well, let's dumb the HP down a little bit.
Is this a specific example, Charles?
I think a good example of this would be what was it I did? Like the Lord of Bones, actually. The Lord of Bones was supposed to be way tougher. He was supposed to have those skeletons were supposed to regenerate every turn. He was supposed to be doing permanent con damage to you guys. And stuff like that. I see how well, saves start going south, and it's like, okay, cool, and a fight that I never really anticipated being talked out of, I'm like, okay, they can talk their way out of this because it's not going to end right with them. Or, again, it's always easier to back it up than push it forward. It's really like, well, that you hit the AC of 20, well, shit, now that thing's down to like half health in one swing. Like, well, the AC can't go up because they know it's 20, and
I agree, and also, again, in terms of balancing, because with the way Wizards has it is you balance how many players, what their level is, versus, the quote-unquote CR of the monster they're fighting, that sort of thing. I'm going to point back to this past Wednesday, when I had 8 level 9 characters.
Oh shit, I forgot.
I had 8 level 9 characters, so I chose what I thought was going to be a medium fight. And I had my first PC death this week, which is just... I acted as I thought I would. But it goes to show you that you can plan to have a battle be not so hard, but where the dice fall will change in an instant if it goes from, oh yeah, this is fine, to all of a sudden there are 2 PCs down, one is unconscious, there's one dead in the corner, and suddenly you were like, this was not supposed to be like this. So dice, as always, have their own mind about what's going to happen. So as Charles said, it is much easier to buff down than it is to buff up. So be mindful of your players and what they can handle. And the more you DM, the more you will be able to get a feel for what they can handle and what they can do and what kind of enemies you can throw at them. Bless you, honey.
Or your players forget they have a skill that allows them to reroll saves, and he may have not been killed outright by Dragon Breath.
It's okay. It was still epic though.
It was Brace Mo, whatever.
I think it's harder on one-shots, as Morgan pointedly coughed at me. I ran a higher level one-shot, which I calculated the thing, and it's like, this will be a medium fight, and I kept looking at the creature going, I think this is kind of OP. I'll just tweak him down a little bit, and even with me tweaking him down a little bit in one hit, like one lair effect, I knocked like the main heavy hitter down to 1 hit point as she ripped out her own tongue, and then was essentially silenced for the rest of the battle. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to tweak him down even more, dear lord, oh my god. Because, yeah, that was going to go terribly.
And, unless Chris wants to jump in here, I got some.
Actually, I have another question that I can do. But if you have one more thing you want to say, Charles,
I would say also something for balancing your encounters is turn economy, because in 5e, if the monster's attacking more than the players, it's going to be a bad time because mostly I learned this really quick because I had quads run a enemy NPC. I thought it'd be cool, and he got buried in attacks, so he only had 2. Compared to my 7 players swinging 14 times at him to his 2. And a really cool fight turned into a very quick HP slog, and then it was... I think it's always easier to... legendary actions work really great for this. You can turn your... a white dragon who's got 3 attacks ends up having like 9 actions in a round, or 6 actions in a round, and then they're a threat at that point, so it's not just, swing, 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 get pelted on for by 6 players, swing, swing, swing. It's like, okay, well, swing, 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 get pelted on by 2 players, reposition in the fight, and I think that's something that helps make something dynamic. And then stuff and things. My legs hurt.
Charles is amazing.
Charles didn't skip leg day, you guys.
I did not skip leg day. Only plebs skip leg day.
He's a monster!
I skipped body day.
So there was another question?
Yeah, the question was... Oh, no, let me scroll back up to find it.
What was it? It was
What would
Deathly
you
Cats.
What's the one thing you'd tell a new GM or your younger self before their first GM experience?
You're gonna fuck it up, it's gonna be fine, and you're gonna have fun. And strangely enough, your players seem to be having fun, so you must be doing something right. And remember to breathe, because I tend to speak in long run-on sentences. Don't you agree with me?
Sorry, I thought that was going to be another sentence after that.
I'll come over there and smack you, sir.
Bring it. I think I would say loosen up. Stop comparing yourself to people.
Christina's gonna fuck up your shit.
And if you have Christina in a game, she's gonna fuck up your shit. Sometimes literally.
I think the advice I would give myself, and especially newbie DMs, is, again, relax. Also, your players will not do what you think they will do. Don't try to force them into also, don't try to force your players into a situation that hinges on you player agency. Player agency is a big thing. Give them agency. Yes, it's scary, but let them do it. It makes them happy. It makes for a better story. It makes you for a better DM. Also, don't hinge on the next portion of the session to having them do one thing. Have alternate routes just in case, because again, players are like cats and trying to herd cats. They're not going to go the way you think they're going to. But just relax, have fun, and just know that, you know, you guys are going in in a shared experience. Just enjoy the fucking ride, because you'll get really good friends and amazing experiences while you guys are telling this epic story around a table, be it physical or digital.
The biggest piece of advice I would tell myself: you're gonna look like an ass. You're gonna look like an ass every time you DM.
That is so not true.
But be okay with looking like an idiot. Be it funny voices, be it, you know, some harebrained plan you think is cool in your own head. You're gonna look stupid at some point in your DM career. Be okay with it.
Own it, and you know your players will forgive you.
Oh, totally. If it's being weird, like screaming a curse, like, you know, by Bahamut's shiny golden cock at the top of your lungs, and your girlfriend looks at you like you're fucking stupid, you're gonna look stupid. Be okay with it.
Be okay with it.
Also, as Charles said earlier, for those who weren't here, you're not going to be Mercer. You're not going to be Perkins. You get there through practice. And I know a lot of DMs are afraid to do accents or afraid to do voices because it makes them look dumb and they don't sound like a voice actor. Doesn't matter. You don't have to do them, but if you do, it's fine. Your players will enjoy the shit. I do cranky old man voice all the time. I think I sound dumb, but my players seem to think it's hilarious. It's you know, you want to be comfortable, but at the same time, don't worry about putting yourself out there. I'm assuming you are playing with or DMing for people that you trust and like. If you do so, put yourself out there. They're not going to hate you for it. They're not going to think you're dumb. They're going to smile, and it's going to be great, and you're going to have fun. And that is the point. This is a game. Have fun with it. For fuck's sake, take that stick up out of your ass. Just enjoy the experience. And for fuck's sake, also, big thing as a DM, because I've seen some DMs do this, they're not your toys. They're your friends. Treat them as such.
I think that, or Christina, did you want to add to the...
No, I was clapping for Snicket.
Oh, okay, cool. I think one of the big things, and this could probably want to be one of the last things we talk about, because Snicket's got to go in a little bit, but I think expectations between Dungeon Master and player. So, like, be upfront with from what you expect from your players. You expect from whatever it is, and you know your style is going to differ from somebody else's. And one veteran of D&D might have one way of playing it, and that's the way he plays. So if you're upfront and be like, "This is how I play," he or she can adjust their play style to that. Or also, you know, maybe be like, "Oh, that's not the kind of game that I'm interested in," and then move on. Because that can happen. Because not every person is going to like every single DM. Because everybody is different. And that's what makes this so awesome and cool, is that you'll get a different experience every single time, regardless of if it's a different person or what.
Different strokes for different folks. Variety is the spice of life. Different DMs do things different ways, players play different ways, and it's all about knowing what you want and not being afraid to. Like, if you are in a D&D game where you are not having fun, be honest with yourself, because I understand for a lot of people you only have one game, but the fact of the matter is, if you're not having fun, don't put yourself through it, honey. It's not worth it. It's not worth making yourself miserable. Just communicate, "Hey, I love the game, but this is making me uncomfortable," or "I don't like this." Your DM won't hate you, I swear to God. If they hate you for speaking up, get a new DM. You should feel comfortable with your DM talking about your expectations, your hopes, what you want out of a game. If you're not having fun, I think your DM would want to know that. Because they're not putting in all these hours of prep every week just so you can sit there and be miserable. And it festers. And you don't want that. So trusty sneak it. You talk to your DM. Your DM will understand. Yes.
Good. Well, I think that was a pretty productive impromptu interview / podcast Roll20 thing that we just did.
Can I add one thing?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Dude, go.
In 4 days' time, it will have been 1 year since I first ever played D&D with a very awesome DM in this game right here, who allowed me to do my first ever thing, which was steal a potato. So if you're a player playing D&D, never be afraid to ask your DM if you can go and steal a potato. Because it's like the best thing, and it is the one thing I will still tell people to this day, is that I got to steal a potato in a D&D game.
You do realize that Urchin grew up to be some evil overlord, right? The one that stole your potato back.
I threatened her, good and proper, sir. Good and proper.
Good and proper. All right. Well, thanks for coming to watch us bullshit about DMing. You guys were awesome. I loved all the conversation that we had in chat tonight. It was really, really fucking cool to see. You are all so lovely. I love all these people here with me right now, and they're all so amazing. I've learned so much from all of them individually and collectively. Just so much love for everybody. But that's it for this week's Dungeon Crawl. Again, apologize for not having Titan's Grave. Some things came up, but it's all good. We're going to run next week, and soon there will be a Snicket campaign being run on Dungeon Crawl, which is going to be... God help their souls, I guess. Is all
I apologize ahead of time for I am plotting with her, and you guys get to deal with me, which is probably... I like to run dark.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Yes, but this was good, and hopefully we'll do something like this again sometime with DMs, just chatting about expectations and whatnot, and taking questions from people. I also have the world building one stream that I'm going to be doing, where I talk about how I do world building, that sort of thing. So keep an eye out for that. I'll let people know more about my campaign, which should be starting soon, because I did nothing else all day other than world building. So we're close.
Let me tell you, it's pretty good.
So
Awesome. Well, you can follow us at Dungeon Crawl 22 on Twitter. You can follow me at IRChris, IARECHRIS. Snicket, do you want to give them and then go down the line?
Thanks very much to Charles and to Christina. You can follow them. Charles is at BeardedViking13 on Twitter. Christina is at Tempest Libris on Twitter. They are both amazing, wonderful people, and if you're not following them, oh my god, you need to rectify this.
You're making me blush. You can tell by the darker shade of my black box.
And these are lovely people, so keep your eyes out. We will have lots of things in the future. Love everybody's faces, and we'll see you in the next stream.
Did you just turn into Markiplier there or something?
Shh, let it happen.
Okay.
Alright.
Fade to black. Fade to black.
We're ending the stream now, so we will see you all on the Twitters. Bye-bye!
Bye!